Welcome back to buttloadofkids.com,
Otherwise known as crazyblastadventures.com.
where the links are in the notes. The fights are in the recordings. The kids might be in bed.
Hopefully at this point they're finally in bed. It is late.
Today
Yeah.
we're talking about your day.
A day in the life.
This sounds totally made up. People really do this.
People really do this. So
Okay.
at Simple Homeschool,
Why in the world do you care what someone else's day looks like?
it's really helpful. Honestly, I look for the ones that have kids my ages, my kids' ages, or ones that have lots of kids, because the strategies that other people use for their routines or for how do you teach math, how do you teach language, how do you deal with the toddlers in the mix, or what works for you in your homeschool. Sometimes that can be really inspiring. Give you that like, oh, I should try it like that. That would relieve whatever problem I'm currently dealing with. And it's just interesting just to know there are so many different approaches to homeschool out there, and it's really interesting to kind of see how different people do it, and you find people that you go, oh man, that style is really like mine, and then you find other people that, that I don't think I'd want to do it that way, but it's just interesting to see how people do. And you really recognize that like every family, one thing about homeschooling that I found this year, it's been a really interesting exercise in getting to know myself and getting to know my kids all better than I thought. I already knew myself pretty well, but I've learned things about myself this year that I didn't know, and getting to know my kids' styles and needs better than I did already. And so you really recognize that every family has their own interests and approaches that works for them, and every kid has their own style and approach that works for them.
Which is why I don't understand why you would care about somebody else's style, because you got to find your own style. But
well, you find people that are similar to you, and you go, oh yeah, that really resonates with me. That is, you people are like me, and so I think that what you're doing would probably work well for me. And so a lot of the things that I do in my homeschool are things that I've read that other people did. And we've tried out, we've been calling this experiment year, or I've been calling it that. And we've tried out a lot of different things. And I've had some things where I go, that didn't work at all. Like that just doesn't fit us. And other things.
What's next year going to be? Next year's going to be experiment year. And you know what the year after that's going to be? Experiment year.
Yeah, I'm sure seasons
and
will change.
Someday you die. That's life. Every year is experiment year.
That's probably true. However, just walking into this year, having not ever done anything like this quite this way before, I've been giving myself a lot of grace in the like, well, we're going to try this thing and it might not work at all. So we're going to give it, a certain amount of time. And if this aspect of what we're doing doesn't work, we're going to try it a different way. And so the first few months, there were a lot of things like that. We tried this certain type of schedule, that certain type of routine, some things like clicked really well, and that are there still parts of our day, and other things just, quickly recognized what things aren't going to work for our people at this point.
Okay.
So.
Well, you don't have to defend this to me. It's like those reaction videos. I don't understand those either. Like you're watching somebody watch a video and seeing what the reaction would be. Have you seen those?
I haven't seen those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're big with the youths these days. They'll just watch it. I've got students who have videos on YouTube, and then other people watch their videos and react to them. So the camera's on them. And then someone else watches them watch the video.
Okay. I don't know anything about that.
I don't know how the internet works. Okay, whatever. Okay. Do your thing.
Anyway,
day in the life.
So I try to keep everybody in bed until 7 a.m. That's typically unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, I can.
That's my goal.
I usually leave pretty early in the day, but I'm around for that.
Yeah. 5 or so a.m. I think is when the 4-year-old climbed in bed with me, and he quickly went back to sleep. So that was cool.
Okay. You say so.
Around 6:30, I think the baby got up. We gave her a bottle. She went back to sleep. So that was 2 for 2. I think 7:30 or so is when the 2-year-old got up, and at that point, there's 3 kids in our bed, and nobody's sleeping now. Mm-mm. So we all got up. Usually,
My least favorite way to wake up in the morning is a golf club to the ribs. And apparently that's the one move my kids know is the heel in the rib. Just wait. I'm cool waking up at 3:30 in the morning. Whatever. I got kids. I signed up for that. But could you do it any other way? Then I think he's asleep. It's so angering.
I'm so sorry. So usually Jamin leaves the bed when the first child enters. Trades spots with them. But
not because I'm upset that they're there.
No.
But all of them kick me in the ribs while I'm dead asleep.
Mm-hmm. Or tickle you.
I don't mind that one.
Oh,
that
really?
one's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you didn't like the tickling.
At least it's kind of subtle. But I think the numbers of times that I wake up, sure, for the first 5 milliseconds that I'm about to die. Because if there was an intruder in the house, that's the exact same.
That's how they do it.
No. That's what I would want you to do.
Oh.
Jamin, get up. And I would wake up, grab my gun, and shoot somebody. And so that's the mindset that I'm in when I get the heel to the ribs is who am I shooting? And there's no one to shoot. And there's nowhere for all that anger to go.
Whew, okay. So then you go switch beds with them. And
they've got really comfy beds. And apparently they don't kick you?
Nobody kicks me. No. So around 7:30 is when the third child got in the bed. Mm-hmm. So we all left to go to the playroom. That was time. So generally around 7 or so is when that happens. And that's when I try to go make some coffee and read my Bible and probably 10 minutes or so of another book that I'm just very slowly trying to read through. So I spend that first hour generally trying to get in 10 minutes of reading. Notice I say 10 minutes of reading in an hour. And that's pretty much as much as I can get in. Because 4-year-old wanted to play Apples and Apples with me this morning.
There's no book that's more important
I know. It was pretty cute. He doesn't really know how to play, but we play it sometimes as a language arts game. And so he just knows you get cards and sometimes you get the one and sometimes. So we were kind of just trading the cards back and forth. So we were hanging out playing Apples to Apples over Cheerios. So that was the first part of my day.
And you got 10 minutes of reading in there?
And I got, I didn't get to 10, but I got a little bit of reading in there.
6 minutes of reading.
Sure, yeah.
That 6 minutes was the most wasted time of your day. You could have played 6 more minutes of Apples to Apples with a 4-year-old?
He got distracted by something else and moved on. So
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. I try to carve out that 8 to 9 time to do blog writing. Again, I don't get an hour. I think I got maybe 10 minutes today. There's between diaper changes and big kids kind of wandering out of bed. They need milk and
so get in the way of life. You're trying to do important things.
I know. So I try. Usually the biggest kids aren't up until around 8:30 or 9. So I try to use that time to get stuff done while the house is relatively quiet, but some days kids are up earlier than others. So I didn't get very far today, but we follow a pretty routined day as opposed to a scheduled day. There's a whole thing in the homeschool community about routines versus schedules. And I'll post a link to Julie Bogart, who's one of my favorites, has this.
Is it as obvious as it sounds? Do things in a certain order, not on a certain time.
Yeah, pretty much. Having a schedule kind of creates some anxiety and tension in some things. So having a routine is just more natural flow to the day. So we are pretty routine. There are a couple things that I literally do schedule though, because babies need naps at certain times and meals have to happen at certain times or else people get cranky. So I have an alarm that goes off at 9 and that's when the big kids have to go start their day.
That's my thing.
That's his thing. So they all go meet him in the other room and they get dressed and brush their teeth and put laundry away and do their chores. And I spent that hour today running an errand and didn't take anybody with me but the baby. So that's cool.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I can't reach you. There's too much microphone in the way.
That's not microphone.
Jeez. So having Jamin in the morning to help with that is really great since he works late, so he gets the mornings to spend the time with the kids, and that way I get a little break in the morning to start the day off a little slower. So about 10 o'clock-ish is when they were finishing up their chores. I was back from my errand. They were finishing breakfast. I think normally I try to make breakfast. I try to start that at 9, but I think since I was gone, they did that with you. And as soon as people were done eating, I sent them all outside so that I could kind of straighten up the house and finish the work I was doing earlier in the morning. They all decided it was way too cold out there today. So that didn't happen. We live in California, so way too cold was like 40 degrees, I think.
That's pretty cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was too cold to play outside.
Yeah.
So anyway, they came in and started constructing things. We have these like little STEM construction kits that we borrowed from a friend, and they are all about the building of all kinds of cool things with that. So they spent a little while doing that while I straightened up.
They're borrowed from a friend?
Yeah.
We should never borrow anything. We destroy everything. No borrowing. If you lend something to the callers, it's not coming back in. I do not think we are the kind of family that should be frequently borrowing things from people we like.
Okay. Anyway, so another alarm I have goes off at 11 because that's when a baby needs a nap. And that's when we clean up and start circle time. And I'm pretty strategic about starting school as soon as the baby's napping, because the baby and the toddler are a big factor in how much we can get done. So the 2-year-old we kind of incorporate into circle time because it's all about singing and stories and stuff, and she can kind of hang with that for a while before she needs to go lay down. But the baby nap time, it's really huge. So she goes down for her nap, we have cleanup time, and we start circle time. Circle time is basically lots of songs and lots of reading. And the kids dance on the table. And that's their favorite part. I basically do a YouTube playlist, and it's all like at the beginning, just action and learning songs. Pancake Manor is a current favorite in our house. We do Just Dance songs sometimes. Praise and worship songs, like anything that they sing in kids' church that they're really excited about. I kind of let the kids help weigh in on some of the playlist and change it up every few weeks. And Seeds of Worship is another good one that is, it's all scripture songs. So it's like literally the words from the scripture and it's set to music. But they're catchy tunes. So they get into that. And then the last one I do a hymn, and I just kind of Googled a most popular hymns and I'm adding those. So we sing through some of that, and then we pray. And then I have a stack of books that we just loop through.
We pray. You pray? They pray.
Sometimes I pray. Sometimes the kids pray. Sometimes I ask them if you want to pray do you want to go ahead and pray for our day, or just who wants to pray for our day? And somebody does.
Does the boy ever volunteer?
Occasionally, not very often. The little one does. Often.
I want to hear those ones.
They're pretty cute. Then I have a stack of books that we work through. So I'll grab the stack. The kids will get their coloring. They all have like certain activity books and coloring books that they are kind of working through and get their markers. And so the stack of books that I have it's pretty intentional, but it's like there's probably 8 books, I want to say, in the stack currently. And I just loop them through. So whatever I just read goes to the bottom. So if we only make it through like 2 of them in a day, it's okay, because it's not like, oh, we only made it through 2 books, so book number 5 like never gets read. We don't always start with the Bible one. That fleshes out a lot of our curriculum. It's hard to get through a lot of really project type stuff with this many kids with the age span that we currently have. I think when the kids are older, maybe that'll change. But there's just so many interruptions. Project? So like science experiments or like a history project where you build something that's representative of it.
So you just don't do any projects in school?
No, it's not that they don't do any, but I try to, whatever we're learning in science or history or those subjects where like doing a project in that subject would take considerable amount of time, I try to keep books in our book stack on those things. So even if it maybe goes a while before we can like get to the next awesome science experiment, we're still like keeping those concepts fresh on a regular basis. So it's not like it's been we learned about atoms 2 weeks ago, and now we're finally getting to the next experiment in the book where we can learn about the next part of that thing. But it's been a really long time since I've thought about atoms, and I can't remember what we talked about.
I want to help with projects now.
Sure.
I want to do more projects.
That'd be awesome. So once we get to the end of the stack, and like I said, usually we don't get to the end of the stack. Some days we only get like into 2 books.
How big is the stack?
It's 8 books.
Okay.
And I just rotate. And so like if it's a picture book, like the Australia picture books I was talking about, when I finish one, I take a different one, stick it in its place so that it's coming around in the rotation, again in the same spot. But that way, if we only get 2 books in a day because we're super disrupted, then, that's just how the day goes. Some days we get in more, but I really just read until they're not able to listen to me read anymore. And then we transition to math and language activities, and they generally go get a snack while I clean up the stack of books. They put their crayons away or whatever they were doing. And the math and language, I have like about 6 different activities that I just loop through, and it's every other one is math or language. So we have like flashcards, and then language copywork, and then a math game, and then like a Mad Libs. So it's alternating between math and language, but some of them are more game or play oriented, and some are more just direct instruction. But I try to like even it out. So ideally I get at least 2 of them in a day. Some days we can get 3 or 4, and that's a really great day. But that way we're keeping it all fresh regularly, and alternating between like a lesson and a game helps them not feel like they're having to like sit at the table listening to me talk for an hour. So that helps a lot. We do a lot of games like Apples to Apples is a favorite. We do Hangman, where I'll like have them do special sounds. All the words they have to have like a list of certain like phonics special sounds. And that way too, sometimes the littlest ones need to go take their break time too. It's kind of getting towards like lunch nap time at that point. So sometimes the littlest ones are ready to go lay down. Even if they aren't, then they can still participate in the game. Like I said, the 4-year-old likes to play Apples to Apples, even though he doesn't really know what's going on. Or Hangman, he'll join in on that too. Or Mad Libs, even that. Or if we're doing flashcards, sometimes I'll hand some to the littlest kids, and they can just have some in their hand to hold. So they have a way to participate with us. And part of my thinking behind that was I for a little while was trying the approach of giving them something different to do in a different place, but then I constantly felt like I was like shoving them off, like you can't come join us right now. And a little bit defeated the purpose of homeschooling for me, of wanting to be with all of the kids all day, is having them like, oh, sorry, you can't be part of our group at this point. And so this way everybody's all together, and we really just literally sit around the table for about 2 hours, and the littlest two, the baby's generally napping, but the other 2 littles, kind of come in and out, but they at least feel like they're part of the group. And I don't know.
It's adorable.
I feel like that means something. We'll see. I don't know. It feels better to me than constantly telling them to go play, or, oh, you go in your room and watch TV. And at some point, sometimes they do need to just go lay down and rest because it's getting to that time. But
pretty much describes all of parenting. I tried. It felt like it meant something to me.
We'll see. Maybe we'll never know. So around 1-ish, when we wrap up with that, and I can kind of sense that people are done and they need to eat. We eat breakfast pretty late, so 1 o'clock seems like a late lunch, but we're not ready to eat lunch before then because we had breakfast at 10. So we call it quiet time, and I have a chart that I make on the whiteboard, or chalkboard, excuse me, and they have 4 things on their chart. They have to do lunch, reading, writing, and math. Those are all independent activities. So the 3 oldest kids get their own lunch. They have a list of things that they're allowed to get, and sometimes I help them with it depending on what it is, but for the most part, they do it on their own. And that way I can get the 2 littles, if they aren't already laying down in bed, I can get them settled for quiet time, and get some kind of individual time in with each of the other kids. So I listen to the kindergartner read from her Bob book or from a library book that she chose. She's starting to get into more like just regular books, which is really exciting. She's getting excited about that. Bob books are like those like pre-reader type, like.
I'm sure people know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. Our second grader is he and I are reading through Mouse and the Motorcycle together. I read a page, he reads a page, I read a page. He's highly social, so reading by yourself is like torture. So if I want him to be a reader, forcing him to do it for a certain amount of time by himself he will, on his own initiative, read to any of his siblings all the time just for fun. So when I kind of keyed into that, I went, oh, this would be a better approach. So he and I are reading together, and that helps a bunch. So so we're getting a little higher reading level in than just like the pictures books that he would read to his little brother. And then the third grader she could read and write all day. So I usually make her do her math first. Yeah. Because at that point I've lost her. she's gone in a book. I'll see her tomorrow. And she's writing a novel. So she could do that all day too.
Or a play.
Yeah. But that way I can kind of check in with each of them, see their progress on the things, or if they need individual help on the math thing that they're working on. I let them pick the math activity and sometimes the writing activity. So they have a list of options. So they have a math workbook that's part of our curriculum. They can pick from, I'll give them like a span of 4 pages. Like you can pick this page, this page, this page. Or they have some apps on their Chromebooks that they can use. So they get some amount of choice on what they do for reading and writing and math. Same, like I said, the second grader, we're reading a book together, but my third grader is a lot more independent on, as long as I kind of approve of the book that she's reading, but she pretty much gets to pick because she's at a higher reading level. So so she, gets to choose what she does for all of those things. So then generally at that point, after we finish quiet time is when we would do a project. We have some writing projects that we're working on, writing about fairy tales and some science. We're doing, like I said, chemistry, atoms, molecules, periodic table. That's fun. And history. But today we didn't do any of those. We met a new babysitter, which was cool.
She's the best.
Yeah. She's a friend of, the oldest sibling of some of the kids' friends in our homeschool co-op. She's the oldest of 6, and
that's it. That's all you need.
Homeschooled, which means she's free during the day, and the kids all really like her. So that felt like a major score. I don't know why I didn't know about that till now, but
a year from now, when we listen back on this and we realize she was a serial killer the whole time, this is all going to be really awkward to listen to. But
maybe.
For now,
we're pretty
she's
excited.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the kids all had a blast meeting her. And then we went to the library, which is, again, a thing we don't normally do on a Wednesday. But we had books due. So what are you going to do? You got to go to the library.
And you got the oil changed.
And we got the oil changed. Yeah. We ran all kinds of little errands. And apparently on Wednesday afternoon, they have story time at the library.
Yes.
I didn't know that either. So we stayed later than we intended to. The kids have church Wednesday night, and they got there a little bit late because I didn't realize it was super late. But
and then
story time. And then
I'm back.
Yeah.
And we play games. All the people who are
on Purple,
who have been doing a good job throughout the day.
Yep.
And
I put little people to bed, and then we do this.
We do this. And other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm around to enforce the morning stuff.
Which
well,
is
first
huge.
of all, I'm a punching bag between 3 and 6. And then I enforce the mornings, and then I play at night.
Yeah.
My job is awesome. I'm extremely jealous of your job. But of the 2 roles, the person who has to plan out a day, execute the day, and make sure that no one dies, or the guy who just gets to be fun guy, this is a pretty sweet gig over here. I just wish I could do more of it. So that's a day in my life.
Well, you worked in between. I mean, that wasn't the whole day.
No, sure. Yeah, kind of, I guess, if you call my job work. But so yeah, my day is have someone jab you in the side, go back to sleep, wake up, turn on a video.
Make kids do their chores.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good.
It is so much easier having you do that with them, though. Since I do the bedtime evening chores, like usually we were at the library today, so we didn't do our normal evening routine, but I have another alarm that goes off at 5, and we do the whole bath, chores, dinner, story time, bedtime, all that, like 3-hour routine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of discipline that has to happen in order to make that run smoothly and consistently. So to have to do it again in the morning, I'm grateful to not have to do it twice in a day.
Are we done?
I got to the end of the day. The end?
Do do
check on the baby.
do 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 do.